What do you think? I heard a guy just walked in. I was going to the restroom for the fourth time, and the guy said, "Hell, I'm not going to stand here some damn AA speaker." I said, "Neither am I. I'm leaving with you. Where are you going?" Hell, he's probably going down to the river where the real folks are. Or maybe a better place than that, where nobody will know you. Well, I can't see y'all. Y'all are in the dark. Y'all know you're in the dark? There's light up here. If you can't see, you want to read, come on up here with me. Well, I'd like to thank Nelda and Bill for taking care of us today. Good care of us. I noticed that you and I were the ones that mentioned the bread. Because you and I probably participated more than others. I did. I don't know about you. I even got a little extra out the house, a little special. I didn't eat any, of course, just sampled it. And it was good to hear from Jim again. We've, I think evidently when somebody cancels, he calls me or something. But good friend over the years. You know, it really gives you a bunch of stuff. You want to hang around here and get it. If you don't, go ahead and do what you're doing and never get it. You'll just go ahead and miss it. San Antonio's a pretty town. I went out and see, y'all are really picking up. I think I'll move down here. The economy's bad up in Fort Worth. They hate us, you know. Closing our air base. But I am Jim Williams, and I'm an alcoholic. And I'm glad to be here. I think. I'll know in a little bit. What is that new deal? That deal where they, where you want sex all the time? Can't live without it? Or what is the deal where you're, what is it, Terry? Codependency. God, I wonder why in the hell I didn't think of that. God, why didn't one of us think of that? God, we missed. Old Chuck Chamberlain is dead now. He came about 10, 12 years ago, come through Dallas-Fort Worth, talking about what controls you. Codependency, for God's sakes. Think of the money we could have made. I wouldn't have to be with y'all now. I'd just send one of my boys down here to take care of this little deal. That'd have been wonderful. Damn. God, I wish I'd have thought of it. Just didn't do it. Damn. Just still bothers me that I didn't. I am thinking about a new deal. Say you were codependent on sex. Just say that's one thing, which none of us hardly had the trouble, but some of us have. What about something like a fast food deal? Quick fix on the way home. You know, kind of like an outpatient deal where you fix you up on the way home, just a drive-through, maybe. Wouldn't that be something? This is you and I. We go to Hazleton, tell them how we are. They write it down, put it in a pamphlet, and sell it to us because we identify with it. I told my sponsor, I said, "Are we that sick?" And he said, "Yeah, we're that sick." God, I couldn't believe that. Couldn't believe that. That's us, though. My God, we'll just go off doing anything that we're not supposed to do or that's ridiculous. Mine. I'm ready. Will that work? Not at all. Well, let me have some of that, for God's sake. God, let me have, you got a book? Oh, yeah, let me have the book. The hell with that AA book. That damn thing just got the solution in it. I want something that'll keep you in the deal. I want to be miserable. Don't you? Hell yes. I know how to be miserable. I like it. Know how to live there. I don't want anybody screwing it up. Some of you understand have even been raised to be alcoholics. They've got that new deal. What do you call ACA? Oh, adult children of alcoholics. ACA, isn't it? Is that what it is? They call their parents malfunction. What do they call it? Dysfunctional. Alcoholic calls his parents dysfunctional. Of course, he's functioned properly all his life. Silliest bunch of shit I ever heard in my life. We just fall for it, just by God. Oh, I've been going to that group's helped me a lot. Doing what? Changing parents? Don't accept your parents. Get you some new ones. Get one of us, for God's sake. We'll help you. Couldn't believe that. Couldn't believe that we'd do that. We did it. Fell for it. God, I just got a guy in my group. Oh, I went and just help me. Oh, it didn't really get new parents? What'd you get? God, well, I'll tell you one thing. My parents functioned one night. Because I'm here. I don't know about the rest of the time, but one night we had a hell of a time. I was raised to be in a little northwest Texas town. I was raised to be a southern Baptist. We're the ones that pray for the Catholics. Well, they drink, you know. And I was raised in this little old town, had a guy stand up there just like me, said, if you think it, you might as well have done it. I knew I was thinking it before I even knew what it was, but I knew I must be thinking it. And you know how they are. Presbyterians, hell, they knew it was going to happen. And Episcopalians, they just got tired of being Catholic. And Methodists, well, they just didn't like water. I think I'd like to be a Lutheran. They believe in doing everything just a little bit. I was raised in this little northwest Texas town, and I finally got to be 13, which will happen to you if you do what I was doing one day at a time. And I got in the car after school one day with this girl. We got to mess around. I got those funny feelings. But I told them about it. I said, we've been meaning to talk to you. See, I knew they had. You know we've been praying for you. Oh, yeah, I know that, yeah. You know, it's not like AA. AA says, so old Jim lay in the ditch last night. If he lives, we'll get him. And this bunch, they just hone in on you. You know, they see that gleam in your eyes. Oh my God, if he's thinking it, he's going to do it. And then, boy, he may like it, and we'll lose him. So they hone in on you and point at you. So this guy said, what you need to do is get saved. I said, what from? Haven't done nothing. He said, you meet us before the funeral service. And so I met them before the service, and we got back there in that back room, and they got down on our knees, and we all just prayed. And then he said, now, when they sing that last stanza, you get up and you come down the aisle and you get saved. Well, I stayed back there in the back. Finally said, we're going to sing one more stanza for that one right back there. God, my throat hurt. I knew it was my time. So I came down here. It's kind of like AA, except didn't give out any chips. And they hug you and kiss you and tell you how great you are. And hell, I know I'm not, but I liked it. And they throw you the tank and the handkerchief leaks. You choke a little, but you come out all right. Went to school the next day and saw that girl. Came right back. I said, well, I guess we're going to have to do it again. It didn't take. They said, no, you just don't do it. Well, they didn't know. I didn't know how to don't do anything. I didn't know how to don't do anything. I didn't know if they'd just say, don't do that. They didn't do it anymore. I said, well, how do you don't do it? Don't think about it. I said, I wonder why I didn't think about that. I thought, well, it's only 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll go ahead and think about it. Then tomorrow when I get up, hell, I won't even ever think about it again. Got up the next day and thought about it more than I ever thought about it before in my life. I had no idea that I'm the kind of guy, when I start not to do something, I'm going to do it on time. When I start not to think about it, that's all I'm going to think about. I used to try to wake up real quick before I thought about it. Finally got out of high school. Had to go to summer school to get out of high school. I don't think I was so dumb. I was just always busy. You know, a guy said, I walked by the other day and you was in the car and I spoke to you, didn't even speak to me. I said I was having a meeting. He said there wasn't anybody in there but you. I thought, well, how many do you need? Well, I'd heard about this town that was 30 miles away that had things like honky-tonks and it was wild and wicked. So this Saturday, that's before I knew you could do it during the week. I told this guy, I said, let's slip over there and find out what that's all about. And we slipped over there, opened the door of that honky-tonk, and my God, there was that deacon I'd seen all my life. With a warm girl in one hand and a cold beer in the other, and I said, my God, let's get out of here. He'll tell Jesus on us. And we didn't even get to do it. You know, if you get caught before you do it, you ought to forget it. This guy said, well, he can't tell anybody, but hell, I knew he had a better shot with Jesus than I did. However, I liked the girl he was with on Saturday night a lot better than the one he was with on Sunday morning. And he was happier than I had ever seen him. I thought, I'd seen him every Sunday morning, and I thought, deacons are just sad. Now I know, hell, he's just tired. We drank 2 beers, didn't taste good, didn't feel good, and I was glad to get out of there. Next day I went to Sunday school and church. First time I wanted to go in my life, I thought, you know, maybe he hadn't been there. Maybe you get old enough, you don't have to go. There he was. Sad like he always was. Then I had my first spiritual awakening. Maybe you can do it a little bit and just don't tell anybody. So I told my buddy, I said, next Saturday we're going to go back. It's a big town, had 2 joints. Went to the other joint, didn't see a deacon under you. Was going to commit adultery, but I didn't know much about it. And you know how we are. Think about it all day long, drink a beer and forget it. Or if we do, we don't remember whether we did or not. Learned how to drink. I didn't even know I knew how to drink. You just drink 1 beer right after the other, get feeling good, can't feel it all. Southern Baptist, not allowed or learn how to dance. Learned how to dance, fell down the dance floor, broke my nose, did it 5 times after I learned how to do it. Blacked out, waked up the next morning, threw up, just like I've been doing it for years. This guy called, said, how do you feel? I said, God, feel horrible. He said, oh, but you had a great time. And I said, oh, well. I knew how to have a good time. Just go out and get drunk and black out and wake up the next morning, throw up, then you know you had a good time. I didn't know he drank it any other way. I see them now, they're putting umbrellas in them. I guess don't let rainwater or anything get in there. They were already putting fruit in drinks when I was drinking. Not mine, because, you know, too much acid is not good for you. I was over there at this town one afternoon by myself. About 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I wanted to put off getting drunk as long as I could. And about that time I walked by this post office, and there's a sign out there that said, we need you. And I walked in there, and they did. Said, have you ever been to California? I said, no, I haven't been but 30 miles away from home. We're going tomorrow. I said, what I need to do is just sign right here. I thought, God, that's great. I'll just go to California. Never heard about it all my life. Went back home. I'm already having trouble. I'd go with kids places I didn't want to go, so they'd like me enough, and they never did. And somebody was always getting the girl I thought ought to be mine, and some other guy always got her. And my folks would say things like, Jimmy would never want to do that. Yeah, I did too. Already done it once, getting ready to do it again. What was so bad is when they'd say Jimmy wouldn't be caught dead doing that. I thought, my God, what if he'd be caught dead doing it? everything they knew I didn't want to do, I wanted to do, and everything they knew I wanted to do, didn't want to do it. So I said, I'm going to California. They said, how are you going to California? You don't have any money? I said, I'm going to the Air Force. We're leaving tomorrow. Went back the next morning. We went to San Antonio. You think that outfit doesn't operate one day at a time? How did Kelly feel? They get up every morning. They jump up real quick. Dark as hell. Middle of the night. Jump up and make their bed real quick like somebody's coming. Never did. Then they want to go eat. Hell, it's still dark. It's middle of the night. Even if you haven't been drunk, makes you sick eating that time of day. Then they were always scared because they walked in groups. Finally, whoever it was that was running our outfit thought we ought to take a surprise trip. In other words, if they don't tell me where we're going, we can't tell anybody, and nobody will know where we're going. They decided we ought to go to China. We're in the Air Force, so we go to China by boat. I think they flew the Navy over, the Marines were in the boat. There's a lot of Chinese over there. They have a few hills, some trees, and some rice, but they mainly just make Chinese. They like it, and they're good at it, and they're not interested in doing anything else. They just make Chinese. They lose some, but they're making so damn many that it doesn't make any difference. Well, after you go there about 3 weeks, you've seen all the Chinese you'll ever need to see. So I told them I was ready to come back home, and we stayed 2 years. Then we came back by boat. My folks says, where are you going to school? I said, I'm not going to school. Hate school. Wouldn't be caught dead going to school. Couldn't get out of school and went to school. If you don't have that piece of paper, you won't even be able to apply for a job, let alone get one. Every man coming out of the service is going to have that piece of paper. Well, I proved my folks wrong. I gutted that damn thing straight through 3.5 years, and I made sure that I didn't learn one single thing. I made sure that every course I took, I was going to pass it before I took it. And I made sure that it wouldn't benefit a human being whatsoever. You know what I like about you and I? We'll go to any length, even if it destroys us, just to be right. A lot of people won't do that. A lot of people say, well, I could be wrong about that. Not you and I. The only time you and I will ever use that statement is when we're damn sure we're right. And we might say, well, I could be wrong about that. Having some minor difficulties with women. If you put 10 pretty girls up there, I'll get the sick one every time. I don't know where I learned how to do that. I'd see one guy, they'd just go with one girl, a different girl, another girl. I said, hell, you can't do that. You're supposed to make sure you got a pretty girl and one that you can be in love with and take home to your folks, for God's sakes. You can't just go with any girl. The only thing wrong with being the way I was is when you're walking around in love with no girl. Take me about 2 months to find that precious sick little thing. Then we'd be so much in love in about 2 months, I'd almost have to quit work. And then they just deteriorate from there on out. When I got to A, I thought, this is the greatest place I have ever been in my life. It's the first time I'd ever been where they had the sick women grouped. 2 girls up here are not grinning, I'll tell you that. He is, but they're not. And I like both kinds. I like the ones that got sick doing it, and the ones that got sick watching them do it. It seems like every place that I worked, it's hard to be an alcoholic and have to work in businesses that don't operate properly. You not only have to do your job, you have to see that they run the damn thing right and treat you right like they're supposed to. And it took me a long time to notice that I was always the one that was getting fired. In fact, some of those businesses that fired me are still operating doing it wrong. Which probably means that most of us are too smart to be in business. I finally got out of a job and I couldn't get one. And the way I'd look for jobs, I'd get up every morning, I'd throw up and I'd spray. I'd go fill out one of those forms that asked you personal questions like, where have you worked the last 10 years? It's none of their damn business. They even want to know where you lived. I like to move around some. People I live with used to like me to move around some. Can't remember all those damn addresses. Then the other blanks you've got to figure out, I wonder what they'd like for me to say. Well, you don't know them too well. That's hard work. Then the interview lasts 5 minutes to get out of there. I saved this one place, and I went to it, and I knew they had an opening. I knew I could fit into the company, and I knew a guy would help me get the job. Walked in there, and the moment I walked in there and he saw me, the guy was going to see it, he said, God, you don't want this job. I said, yeah, I want the job. Hell, I've got to have the job. Everybody knew what I didn't want. Always the opposite. Also knew there's something about me he'd like to tell me, but he didn't know how to do it. I also knew they was going to like it better when I left. So I went out and got drunk, waked up the next morning. I said, I've been doing this for about 10 days. I think I'll just take the day off. Went out to the golf course and ate no leg, no piece of toast, and came back around to my beer joint where my last spiritual advisor worked. He said, my God, man, you need a beer. I said, oh, I'm Baptist. We don't drink before noon. That's 10:30. He said, drink this beer. You're shaking yourself to death. I don't want anybody to have DTs out in the middle of the golf course. So I drank half of it and sprayed the golf course. I don't mind spraying if I don't lose my concentration. You start thinking about women or something, it gets your nose, burns. Then you have to drink the rest of the day just to kill the pain. And I already knew how to meditate before I got here. I never meditate that deeply anymore. It's like when it was me, God, and the commode. And you say, oh, God. And it's stringy. And you know where the end is. And you can't breathe, you'll get it back. That's the reason they had this talk right before dinner. It's amazing in the summertime, even the hot summertime, didn't even have air conditioning. And you'd be down in that deep meditation like that's tiring. And you'd lean over there and that bowl was always just as cool. I told that guy, I said, I think I'm really coming down with something. Maybe I ought to go home and really lie down. I didn't get to use the vibrators in the motel till 2 years after I was sober. Because I used to vibrate all by myself. And I was supposed to call on hospitals. And I'd get up in the morning and I'd get in the car and I'd say, God, I hate to go to that big old hospital. Have a hard time finding the parking place. When you do, you got to take that kit, go through the lobby, down the basement, wind around. And that purchasing agent, he's not going to buy anything anyway. See, you don't even have to park. Just drive right on by. So I went home and I got in the living room and I had a call an emergency meeting and I decided, I was living in Houston then, what I need to do is commit suicide. Then those guys will see in the Houston Chronicle, Jimmy Williams commit suicide and they'll never get over it. They'll wish they had hired me because they'll never be able to get over it. I didn't know how to do it. I see it now on television all the time. Suicide, call that number. I bet they've got their own pamphlets. Softer, easier ways. Join our group. We're losing some, but we're gaining all the time. This was even before overdose was popular. I don't blame you. I'm going with you. Boom, get out that door. I've got all this shit I want. I love us. God, that's the reason we recover so quickly. I don't know where I was now, do you? I was going with him. You didn't have anybody listening? Suicide. I don't like guns because I don't like noise in the morning. And besides that, they splatter all over everything. Razor blades were popular then, but I didn't know how to do it. What kind of blade do you use? Straight edge? All they ever said was cut his wrist with a razor blade. You got two wrists. Which one do you cut? Which way do you cut it? Cut it across this way, cut it down this way. Nobody to call. I knew you couldn't do it in the living room. You get blood all over the carpet. And I'm always thinking of others. So I went to the bathroom where I did a lot of things anyway. Got my old double-edged razor and had sense enough to know even though I'd never done it before. What if you cut the left wrist? Left side would die, right side would be alive. What if you backed out half dead and half alive? What I need to do is cut both wrists. Then I can bleed and die evenly. So I cut both wrists and sitting there on the throne thinking about those guys who are going to worry about it for the rest of their days. And the phone rang. And I thought, what if where I'm going I'll always wonder who that was? That'd be enough to run you crazy. So I put a Band-Aid on my wrist right quick. Answered the phone. It was the police. You know, police. I've never talked to one yet that didn't have personality change. And they've been trained by ministers. They'll stop you about 3 o'clock in the morning, and they'll say, come go along with me. I said, I'm sorry, I can't make it. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh, we came back. They said, I can't make it. I cannot make it. I was supposed to be home at 7 o'clock, and it's 3 o'clock now. I'm running late. I cannot go. He says, get out of the car. And I said, I'm not going. Then you got to pacify him, go along with him. So this guy said, where were you last night? And I said, I was right here. And he said, no, you wasn't. I said, how do you know? And he said, we was there. Then I didn't want to talk to him anymore. I'd already learned to never talk to anybody no more about where you've been than you do. I said, well, what do you want me to do? What did I do? They won't tell you. He said, you could either come down here or we'll come back out there and get you. I said, well, I'll just come on down there. He said, if I were you, I'd pick up an attorney on the way because you're in trouble, brother. I said, that'll take me an extra 30 minutes, but wait for me, I'm coming. God, I'll have to live with me. I can live a week and a half a day. I've had a hell of a day. I've had a big day. Been out to the golf course, threw up all over the golf course, come back, had a deal, committed suicide. Now I've been talking to the police, and my God, I've got a major decision, an emergency meeting to call, and it's only 11 o'clock. I thought, well, maybe the Lord is trying to tell me I've been in Houston long enough. Maybe I've overstayed my time. And maybe what I need to do is just leave. So I just mailed the key to the folks, threw all the stuff in the car that I had. Didn't have any furniture. Just had a bunch of quilts and blankets and junk and dirty clothes and clean clothes. Just kind of leveled it out in room for me. And I had one piece of furniture, an old lamp with a lampshade. I guess I was going to carry the light if I could find the plug. Stopped and got a pint of bourbon just in case. Had $36, which before inflation was plenty to start a new career. Waked up the next morning in Brownwood with $7. And I said, wonder how my folks are getting along. Amazing when you know it's time to call home. I called them collect so they'd know it was me. They live in Fort Worth, and I never shortchanged my folks. My folks says, what are you doing in Brownwood? My famous words were, oh, just out riding around. They said, why don't you ride by and have a cup of coffee? That's all I believe will. Never shortchanged my folks. Always gave them my very finest story. In fact, I got to listening to it, and it was so horrible, hell, I cried with it. I thought, my God, if I'd known it was that bad, I'd have left Houston 3 years earlier. Old John said, well, old Jimmy's honest, let him have 100. With 107, listen, we go on a vacation, for God's sake. I knew I had to sweat that night out. I knew I couldn't sleep, so I sat in that old bedroom, walked and walked and walked, and finally daylight came, and I started out there, and my aunt's up, and I said, Annalie, there's one little thing I left out last night. While I was down there in Houston having all that trouble, I was drinking some. But I decided I shall never drink again. As long as I live, you'll never have to worry about my being underfinanced ever again. I'm going to be a different guy. And they look at me like they've been looking at me, blank wall. When I got an A, I went back up there and I said, do you remember that time? She said, which one? Then she said, well, I think I remember. When you started to drive off, I turned around to John and says, what do you think? And he says, he's 33. He'll never live till he's 35. Well, I've got plenty of money and no place to go. I had remembered that I'd help a guy get a job down the Rio Grande Valley, and I thought, I think I'll go down there. I've heard all about it. They've got palm trees. I think I'll just go down there on a little vacation. Drove right out of Fort Worth, stopped at a filling station, happened to sell beer, and I said, how far is to Waco? 79 miles, told me to have 3. I end up, you know where the valley is from here, don't you? It's the end. They have a creek down there. United States stops. The whole thing stops down there. Texas quits, and it's the end. If you can't find your bottom, it's down there. I thought, God, I'm never going to get there. Finally got there, and I thought he'd invite me to his house, but he didn't. When I called him, he said, oh, I know a guy who was a drunk that ran that old hotel down there, and he put me up. And I never took my clothes out of the car. Stayed there 3 weeks. The only thing I'd ever do is every morning I'd come back down the old elevator when it was running and go out and get my short sock shirt, go back up and change clothes, and went out to that place where he worked for 3 solid weeks. Well, they finally hired me. Now, they didn't hire me because I was good or anything else. They hired me because nobody goes down there looking for jobs. They go down there having fun and playing and, going to Mexico. So when I'd get a new job, I could just get drunk and not drunk. And I'd work 7 days a week till I could get up in my place. Sometimes they'd have a guy in my place and I'd have to tell him over and over again, get rid of the son of a bitch, he's in my place. And it takes a long time for management to realize they're making a mistake. And so they finally did that, fired that guy, and I got his place, then I could settle down. And I've already realized where I've been making a mistake all these years. And it's not working. I have tried to be true to one woman. And it's not working. And then I've got to go through that period of losing them and finding me a new one. What I need to do is have a number one and a spare. And that's hard to do when you're drinking because, you call number one. 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. If you're not doing anything tonight, I'll pick you up about 7:30. Fine. Might be 4 or 5 days before you get by there. My weekends were like this. I'd get off work. I'd work Monday through Saturday noon, jump in the car, go to the golf course, have a big lunch like a 6-pack of a cheese cracker, be blacked out home in bed by 6:30, 6:45, wake up 10:30, 11:45, drive out and all, go down to my beer joint, close it at 1 o'clock. Then whoever my best friends were at the time, we'd slip on over to Madam Morris and finish the evening. And daylight come, we'd have a few waivers and chairs and throw it up, or sometimes we skipped it. Taper off drinking beer Sunday and go into Monday, and sometimes I made it, sometimes I missed it. Well, this particular night, I had traded off with this guy for Saturday, and I'm up at 11 o'clock over number one's house. And evidently, sometimes we're just too honest for folks. Evidently, I'd never mentioned number 2. And I was blacking out a little bit, and I just said, I think I'll go by and see number 2 on the way home. And evidently, we'd never discussed number 2 before. I said, but I want to go to the bathroom, and I went in the bathroom. You notice they're putting carpet in the bathrooms? It's because y'all are having meetings in the bathroom. Stay out of the bathroom. Don't have the surfaces, commodes and lavatories and bathtubs are hard surfaces. Stay out there where you got carpet and beds and couches. She followed me in there, could not wait to discuss it. I don't really know what happened. I'm living in an old faded green trailer in an alley behind the motel. I already had the rock yards a long time before they started putting them in. I'd see those old weeds come up there and I'd say, you'll never make it. And I've already learned how to wake up in total fright in my own bed, let alone somebody else's. And I'm laying there asleep and something goes wham! God, I jumped up, looked down, still had my clothes on. I thought, God, I bet I was going somewhere early this morning. And I looked down at an old white shirt and had blood on it, and blood makes you sick, And, God, I felt my head had 4 knots that big. My whole forehead was knocked. I said, uh-oh, wrecked my car, it's the police. can't get out of those trailers. It just has one door and windows about like that. You cannot get out of the back. I thought surely I could get out the back. Couldn't get out the back. And they kept beating on that door. And I finally opened that door, and that 6'4", 240-pound Baptist preacher said, "Come go along with me." I said, "Preacher, I know I look like I'm ready, but I'm not ready. I know I look like it, but I'm not ready. I don't know where the meeting is, but I can't make it. I cannot make it." He said, and I said, "Besides that, I've got to have beer. I've got to have beer right now. I have got, preacher, it's the wrong time. I can't make it." He said, "Get in the car." I said, "Preacher, I've got to have beer." And he said, "There'll be no drinking before the meeting." God, I got in that car and we started up, and I go in total fright, looked at my car, and it was parked funny, but it looked okay. I said, "I guess I wrecked somebody else's car." And then I kept telling that preacher, I said, "Preacher, I'm not breathing. I am not breathing, preacher. You're going to have to stop the car and get me. I've got to have a beer. I am not breathing. Preacher, I am not breathing." You know Baptist preachers don't give a damn whether you can breathe or not. Drove up in front of her house, so I assumed the meeting's going to be there. Head is killing me. I mean, my head. I've been somewhere it's bad, and I mean I have knots and still got a little blood coming. And we walked in there, and she did look like she might have fallen in a bush or something. So I told him, I said, "I have got to go to the bathroom." I went in that bathroom and looked in that mirror, and I'm going to tell you something. She won. I'll never know what exactly happened, but what I think happened, I probably lost my equilibrium, fell in that bathtub, and she stepped on me. 2 weeks later, we got married. Got married at the First Baptist Church, so it worked. Got married at 10 o'clock in the morning, so there's no drinking before the funeral ceremony. I told her, since she'd been married before and I was pure, that it wouldn't be necessary for us to invite a lot of people, but she could invite a few of her close friends. Well, about 11 o'clock Friday night, I'm blacking out, so I start calling my friends. And when I start going to the funeral, to the church, and I start across the yard, here comes, out of the church comes my golfing beer distributor buddy, and he said, "Wait a minute, I got to talk to you. You called me at 2:45 this morning. We're not here to see you get married. We're here because we don't believe it." He said, "Now, as your best friend, I want to tell you something. You better think about getting back in that car." He said, "I'm telling you, the longest bet on your marriage is 3 weeks." But I showed him. I hung it in there for 8 years, but my life changed. I had no idea how nice it was to get up and throw up in peace. I used to say, "Well, I'm going to quit smoking because it makes me gag in the morning." So I'd grab those cigarettes and grab that coffee and go in there and lock that bathroom door, and she'd tell me what I was through that door. Then I'd have to get upset, go make the damn living, get drunk and come home and tell her what she was, and we did that one day at a time. I finally went back to that preacher and I said, "Preacher, this thing is not working." He said, "You know what's wrong with you? You're missing the beauty of life." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Did you know the fruit trees are in bloom?" I said, "No." He said, "What you need to do is go get your wife and drive up the valley and smell the aroma and look at the blossoms." I said, "Yeah." Went home, opened the door, and said, "Get in the car!" He said, "What for?" I said, "We're going to go look at the blossoms." He said, "The blossoms?" I said, "Yeah, we're missing the whole damn thing." Get in the car, and I go by and pick up a 6-pack of beer and start up the valley. Saw a sign that said 14 miles to Matamoros, turned left, went to Matamoros, switched tequila, blacked out, missed the whole damn thing. Lost that job, could not get a job. With 2 months going completely idiot nuts. Finally, a guy, that if there was another guy that drank and got drunk like I did, it was him. And we've been drunk together many times. And he managed a drug company. And he hired me. And I ended up we had a boat wreck first, but that was just because we were checking the territory out. And stayed in the hospital for 3 weeks. Then it's a long story, I won't tell you. But it's just the way I applied for a job rather than fill out the form. And took him 6 weeks to ship me to Fort Stockton, Texas. Little bitty trees out there about that high. You can see California on a clear day, for God's sake. 536 people live there, and 36 of them make it a living. I joined the 500. I'm supposed to stand in a drugstore, and they got lines on this pad, and I'm supposed to write stuff out as the pharmacist says, Areomycin, you can't get it in there. You can't do it moving. She won't do it. The pharmacist says, God, you look like you're going to fly apart. And I said, any minute. He said, well, take some of these. Now, this was before Valium. I understand Valium was both eyes crossed and you walk straight. This was just Librium, which was absolutely nothing. Little old two-tone green and black, or two-tone green. Little old bitty thing. Hell, it was nothing. Hell, I took 2 of them. Waited 15 or 20 seconds. Nothing happened. So I took 3 more. Then my knees just went, huh? I said, God, I know how to weave. Now I've got to learn new stance. Y'all have ruined the drug business. I used to get them for nothing. They used to tickle me. He'd say, Jim, I'm a little short of 10 milligrams. 25 be okay? Be fine. See, we don't go by, they don't know, but we don't go by milligram. We go by size. Whatever size it is, it doesn't make a difference about the milligram. We're taking 5 of one, we'll take 5 of the other. So I took Librium daytime, drank beer at night. The only decision I ever had to make every night was when I got to past the 3rd beer. Am I going to close the joint or go home early? If I want to close the joint, I stay on beer. If I want to go home early, I'll go get a pint of bourbon, put it on top of those 3 beers, and Librium, and go home the way you're supposed to go home, blacked out. My ideal evening was blacked out right at the door. Sometimes I was a little early. Sometimes I had to have 1 more because I was a little late. Good blackout driver. Never had a wreck blacked out. Bad drunk driver. I do different speeds at different stages of drunkenness. And sometimes I could hit stuff and they weren't even moving. Guy called me and recommended me for a job in this company. Called me, and I should not have gotten the job. And there wasn't any way I could get the job, and they flew me up there. And after they got up there, they couldn't figure out why I was there. I told them I could do it. They didn't know what the hell it was, but I didn't want them to know it. They didn't want to tell me, so we kept it a secret. So I ended up back in Houston. And me and old what's her name, number 1, we had developed such a nice, sweet, deep hate for one another that we were really safe because the one that died first won. So we got us a 2-bedroom just in case. It's best for sleep separate places. And we set up battle. This was the 1st of March of 1965. And my new customers never saw me drunk. The day before Christmas Eve of 1965, I was playing golf with these customers and their in-laws and outlaws from Oklahoma. And I got a little too hospitable. And I went by, they lived in Pasadena, and I went by at their house, and when I went over there, I blacked out right at the door. Just barely remember, just a little bit. And then I drove from one side of Houston to the other, blacked out. That's nothing new for me. But things were getting different with me. Nobody ever called me an alcoholic. Every time I'd be at someone's house, I'd call back, and they'd say, it was okay, Jim, you just got drunk. Drunk was getting to be a bad word with me. The only thing I knew about a drunk was a town drunk in Crowell, Texas, named Bratch, who slept in the alley with the wine. And some of my best friends said, I can't have you over at the house anymore, Jim, because you know the way you drink, you're a drunk. And we love you, but I just can't have you over there anymore. Drunk was getting to be a bad word with me. Well, old what's-name had gone next door that's getting ready to have a Christmas Eve party. So I guess heard it on the radio. After I'd been over there, I called back these people, and they said, it was okay, Jim, you just got drunk. I looked up under Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm not an alcoholic. I guess heard it on the radio and called in a group. And the gal acted like she was glad I called. I should have known then I had the wrong number. He said, somebody be right there. Well, I waited an hour and nobody showed up. Looked in the refrigerator and had 3 beers. And I said, 10:15. I'll just call them back, tell them I don't need them. Forgot who in the hell it was I called. And about that time, the phone rang. The guy said, be right there. Well, before I could tell him I didn't need him, he hung up. He came by himself because his wife was managing these apartments we moved in. He used to watch me going back and forth from 7-Eleven and said, if he lives, we'll get him. I look out that window, and that little old boy coming up there, little short guy with a pointed nose and a book on his arm, and I said, oh my God, we're going to read that book and pray. I've not only been baptized, I've been rededicated 10 times. I said, I'll just get rid of him. I don't know what he said, don't know what we did, don't know what he said or what I said. About that time, old what's-her-name came back in. He said, you want to go with me? Well, I didn't, but it's better than staying with her. So I got in the car with him. He hit that old 610 loop. And I said, God, I've made a mistake. I'm going off with a perfect stranger. I should have taken my car, hit that loop, and I said, I'll buy a beer. I don't want a beer. God, I knew it. I knew it. I waited about 10 seconds and said, I'm going to tell you something. I got bad drunk last night. You either let me off on top of this freeway and I'm going to go over there. You told him to get a beer. I got to have a beer right now. Either let me walk over there or take me over there. I've got to, and besides that, it's 11:20. He said, can you wait till we get to the club? Oh, yeah, I can do that. I can handle total fright if I got a little light. So we drove over kind of a bad neighborhood. Drove up in front of this old rickety-looking house. I said, this it? He said, yeah. I thought, well, when I get some money, I'll help these folks. Opened the door and walked in there and saw a bunch of deacons sitting over there talking about women in the stock market, and I found out later on they didn't know anything about either one. Back in the back, they had an old piece of linoleum with holes in it on the bar. And the bartender, he didn't look a hell of a lot better than I did. Program for traction, you know. He says, mix him up a little milk and honey. I said, my God, what do you put in it? I never drank anything like that in my life. He said, well, you see, you're nervous. I said, hell, that's what I've been trying to tell you. And besides all that, you're used to sugar in your system from alcohol, and the honey has already been digested. I said, indigestion's not my problem. You throw up right, you don't have indigestion. So I drank half of it and it curdled, came right back up. He said, don't worry about it, we have plenty. I thought, hell, I'm going to put on a show for these folks. One of the smart ones said, walk all you want to. Hell, I didn't want to walk at all. They just sit there and watch you going back and forth, and they're talking and laughing. Got a new animal in here today. They just watch you going back and forth, drinking that sweet, sick. I hadn't had a piece of chocolate pie in 10 years. Sicky sweet. Almost taste it now. Finally, about 4:30, he said, well, I guess it's time for us to go home. I said, yeah. Let me out a couple of blocks before we get to the apartment. I knew I had to slip in there and get my car, go get some bourbon, because beer would not cut that sweet taste. He said, don't drink anything. I want to pick you up in about an hour and a half. I said, what for? We're going to a meeting. I said, where? Right back where we came from. I said, my God, we was there all day. I said, okay. So I just got out and I walked. Here he comes, and back over there we go. Kind of a funny bunch. I saw a few of them kind of laughing, hugging, kissing. The rest of them, they didn't act like this too damn happy to be there either. They get up. These are supposed to be, I don't know what they're supposed to be. They get up and say a little prayer. A little prayer. This bunch. It's not church, you know. And then some girl got up and talked about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And they just laughed. Wasn't a damn thing funny. They said you only talk 30 minutes, but I know damn well it's closer to 3 hours. And then some guy got up, talked 2 or 3 hours, and they'd laugh. I said, I'm going to tell you something. This is sick bunch of folks. Then they all got up and held hands and said the Lord's Prayer, and my God, every one of them just come alive. All of them started talking at the same time, and I was one of them listening. I said, wonder how in the hell he did that. He didn't lay any hands, sing any songs, didn't do anything. I said, I'm going to keep my eyes open tomorrow night and see what he did. Me and the deacon are standing back there in the back. Nobody's saying a word to us. Then I see the deal. Once you've been here a while, men and women get together, laughing and talking, jump in those cars, and probably go to some of those apartments and have a little drink and talk about this damn thing. We went night after night after night after night. Nobody invited us anywhere. I said, I've got the only damn deacon that nobody can stand. One night, Houston doesn't rain, just falls out. And this guy called, said, I'll pick you up in 30 minutes. I said, it's raining. Did you ever go get a drink when it's raining? I'll be ready. Then one weekend, what's the name, was going back to the valley to see if we had any friends left. So I just went home, pulled down all the shades, locked the door, turned out all the lights, had nothing on but the TV set. The old phone just ring, 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 let it ring. Next morning he called and said, where were you last night? I said, I was right here watching television and enjoyed every damn minute of it, and I may do it again tonight. He said, well, you missed it. I said, what did I miss? He said, I don't know. I said, wasn't you there? He said, yeah, but I only heard what I was supposed to hear. We'll never know what it was you were supposed to hear. My God, you've got to go every night. You'll miss it. I went 3 months drunk. Went 3 months. Is it warming up in here with y'all? I'm not just flashing, Emma. Thank you. And I went 3 months, got drunk, 3 months got drunk, and 3 months got drunk. And then I sobered up all by myself. And then I decided I'm not really alcoholic. And they tell me you can't make an alcoholic. You have to be one. And the only thing that's ever really been wrong with me is I've just always been underfinanced. And if I can get properly financed, then I can tell them all to take it. So I said, but I've got to do first thing first, which is go back and resign and tell them thank you very much. So I went to the meeting and it had already started. I thought, well, I'll just wait. Evidently, one morning around 2:30, he says, I called him while drinking. I think they'll tell you any damn thing they want to. Whether it's true or not, they'll say it. They think they're kings or whatever it is. So sure enough, here he comes. And I'm getting ready to resign. He can't wait for me to resign. He says, don't you ever call me again. I said, God, I'm glad you said that. I never called you. In the first place, they called you. And I'm going to tell you something your best friends will not tell you. Nobody likes you here. We don't get invited anywhere, and they don't know me, so it's got to be you. And I'm going to tell you something just from me. I've been going around with you for over 9 months, and I'm going to tell you something. If I had as bad a personality as you do, I'd go back to drinking. You'll never have to worry about my calling you ever again. If you're the last son of a bitch on earth, you shall never hear from me ever again. And I left, and bye. And I didn't till the next morning. And I called him, and he said, meet me at the club. And I met him in the club, and I walked in the door, and he said, get your coffee and sit down. They talk to you like a dog here, you know. So I'm going to tell you something about Al-Anon, alcoholic, Al-Anon, Alateen, Alatot, and Aladol. There's absolutely no failure here. Alcoholics Anonymous never has, never will, impossible to, cannot fail. There never has been and never will be any failure here, provided you do exactly what we tell you to do, the way we tell you to do it. He said, now there's only one thing that you're going to get to do for the rest of your days. You're the only one that's going to get to do it, but it's the only thing that you're going to get to do. You're going to get to make a decision every day, whether you're going to go our way or your way. If you don't give an alcoholic a decision to make, they'll flounder on the same subject for years. So we're going to give you a decision to make this morning. You're either going to go our way of life or right back out that door. I said, well, I don't want to be or to do either one. He said, I didn't ask you what you want to do. I asked you what you were going to do. I said, you mean tell me you and the group don't care whether I want to or not? He said, not a bit. I said, well, if you'll make it perfectly clear at the group that I don't want to do it, then I'll do it. He said, well, first of all, there's some things that we're going to have to get straight. It's your thinking that's wrong. I said, how much of my thinking's wrong? We always start with all of it. And if there's any good, we'll let you know. I said, you put a sign up there on the wall that says, thanks, thanks, thanks. And he said, that's for us. He said, now we're going to give you some things not to do and some things to do. The things going to give you not to do is going to change. The things going to give you to do, you'll just add to. Then it's going to happen over here. I said, what's going to happen over there? We don't know, but it always happens. I said, I'm going to tell you something. I've been listening to every single word that you say. And I want you never listen to me. And I'm listening and listening and listening. I'm going to tell you something. I do not understand. He said, and that's it, and don't you ever forget it. He said, there's two things that you must remember for the rest of your days. No matter what's going on in your life, you do not understand. Then you'll have understanding. And when you quit trying to understand, then you can enjoy it. And the other thing is, no matter what your situation is, it's never the situation, it's never them, it's never God, it's never her, it's you that must become different. You must become different than you have ever been before. I said, how do I do that? He said, oh, you can't. I said, what the hell you tell me for then? He said, that's what's going to happen to you. He said, now I'm going to give you the kicker. This is the very one thing that got you here. But it's also going to be the very one thing, should it not change, that's going to keep you from getting all the things that God has for His children. As long as you know that you know, you'll never know. But when you begin to do what we tell you not to do and to do, and begin to know that you don't know, then you'll begin to know. I said, hell, you're crazy. He said, I know. He says, now the first thing we're going to learn how to do, we're going to learn how, since you do not know how to not do anything. And the first thing we're going to learn how to not do is drink or take a pill. You know that card that I gave you that has my number and 4 other men, no women on mine? When you get squirrely, no matter what time, day or night it is, you call one of those numbers. If you don't make the phone call, you didn't do it. Definitely before you take a drink or a pill, call the number. Now that's the way we're going to learn how to not do something. And this is what we're going to do every day. When you get up in the morning, get down on your knees and say, first thing, and say these words and these words only. God, take me today and let thy will only be done in my life. Help me to become what you want me to be, and definitely help me not to drink anything alcoholic or mind-changing drug. Amen. Do not need to tell God what He has not done or what He needs to do. God can handle that all by Himself. And then call me before you go to the bathroom. I said, why before I go to the bathroom? You may not need to go. I said, do you mean to tell me you don't think I've got sense enough to know when I need to go to the bathroom? He said, we'll find out. They don't give you a lot of credit here, you know. I said, God, before I got on my knees that morning, I said, God, you and I know He don't know. Hell, He's a Presbyterian. But we're going to do everything just exactly like He says this time, so when we get enough this time, we can tell Him to take it and shove it. Got down on my knees, said that little prayer, made sure I need to go to the bathroom. When I called him, he said, he didn't ask where I need to go or not. He said, go to the bathroom, maybe at the club. I made the club. He said, now go to work. I said, I hate my job. He said, what's that got to do with it? I said, well, I hated it so much yesterday I couldn't go to work. He said, what'd you do, sit in that chair and think? I said, well, till noon, then I went to AA club. He said, you don't know how to go to work. I said, how? He said, go get in the car. You'll write that down, we'll catch it. Then he said, and later on, we'll learn how to do it more. But in the beginning, besides that little prayer you say every morning, when you get in the car, invite God into the day. I said, how do you do that? He says, you say, God, I invite you into the day. Put that on that card and we got it. Then you got to come back to the club and walk in the door and there's people in here and they'll say, get your coffee and sit with us. Hell, I know to get my coffee, but they've got to tell you out loud so that I know. Then you're sitting there listening to them and have no idea what in the hell they're talking about. And then all of a sudden they'll say, time for you to go home and eat supper and come back to the meeting. Hell, I know to go home and eat supper and come back to the damn meeting, but they got to tell everybody out loud like you're an idiot. You don't have sense enough to do it, damn it. Then I came back to the meeting, and then after the meeting, he said, now go home, close the door, get on your knees, thank God for the day. Do not thank God for the day. It's been a miserable damn day. Hate you, hate AA, hate her, hate God, and I'm not going to be a hypocrite. He said, do you feel like when you pray for God and pray to Him that you don't mean it? And I said, that's right, and I'm not going to do it. He said, that has absolutely nothing to do with it. It's the action that you're taking that you don't know you're taking that's going to cause all the things to happen that you had no idea was going to happen. And when you're taking action you don't know you're taking, and all these things that are going to happen that you had no idea was going to happen, all the things that you think have to happen will never need to happen. Well, hell, I understood that, for God's sake. I said, do you mean to tell me that God does not care when I pray to Him, whether I mean it or not? He said, not at all. God is not depending on you for your relationship with Him. He's going to handle that all by Himself. I said, God doesn't care, you don't care, and the group doesn't care? He said, not a bit. I just get in my car, I'll go home and lock the door so what's the name can get in there. Get down on my knees and said, okay, by God, God, thank you for a miserable damn day. Amen. Hell, if He don't care and they don't care and God don't care, hell, I don't care. Did that for about 2 or 3 months. One morning, didn't do anything any different that day than any other day. Hit that old 610 loop down there about 9:15 above Memorial Drive, and this God that I had never known as my friend moved into that car with me. And for the first time in my life, I knew something different than I ever knew it before. I knew I'd never need to take another drink of anything alcoholic or mind-changing drug unless I myself insisted upon it. And I knew it. God stay with me all that day. I thought, hell, the rest of my life's going to be just like that. About 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I thought, man, I'm going to get me a tent, some tambourines. Old Laurel better look out because Jimmy's coming. I'm going to go save some souls. I thought I might even let him go and put up the tent. I couldn't wait for him to get back to the club. He's late, walks through that door, and I said, get your coffee and sit down. The Baptist is taking over. Well, they don't like it coming back, but he did it. We got over in that other room, and I set him down there where I could stand up and let him have it. I knew he's going to make me the leader. And then I was going to tell him my new theory about what we were going to do about the tent. Finally, I just told him. He grinned just a little, not a lot, and said, thank God we've got that over with. Now we can get started. I said, my God, that took a year. He said, some are sicker than others. Then I said, what are you going to do about old what's her name? Yeah, I left there. We're going to leave our marriage just like it is. I'll send you to a guy that's got his all worked out, and guess what? He sent me to an Episcopalian. You know they don't know. And this guy said, are you still married? And I said, not really. I said, legally I am, but we do not sleep together, and I've been praying for somebody to sleep with her, and nobody will. And the girl that I know is God has picked out for me. You could tell it because the chemistry's perfect. I know it's her. She's been sober almost a month. And they won't let me go with her. He said, do you remember when you got in Alcoholics Anonymous? You didn't fit in here, you didn't fit back out there? I said, yeah. He said, if you're willing to go through those lonesome periods in every area of your life, I'll not only guarantee a relationship with women, with men and women, I'll guarantee a relationship with God that you never could have imagined or dreamed of any of it. I said, I don't believe that. He said, isn't that wonderful? You don't need to. I said, what do you mean? He says, to action. I said, I've already heard that. He said, since you're still married, we'll just practice on her. And don't you start up anything new. Don't you do it. And said, you know, I'll find out. I can check on it. They don't give you a chance here, you know. And he said, what we're going to do is you're never going to tell her what's wrong with her ever again. I said, who's going to tell her? He said, I don't know, but you're not. And you're never going to do anything to use Al-Anon, friends, children, to work her around to get her to do what you want her to do. I said, never. He said, never. And you're going to pray for her. And I said, I'm not. You pray for her. He said, yes, you're going to pray for her, and you may have to do it 100 times a day in the beginning and say this prayer and learn this prayer because you're going to use it for the rest of your life in every areas of your life. God, thy will be done for her as well as for me. Take our relationship, let it become what you want it to be, and show me the truth. I said, I do not want God's will to be done for her as well as for me. He said, remember, what you want has nothing to do with it. So I started doing that, and I finally said, you ought to take her to Al-Anon. He said, my wife has already taken her to Al-Anon, and guess what happened to Al-Anon? She found you depressing. And the more they took her to you, the more she found you depressing. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And I love you, and if you ever need me for anything, call me. I'm willing and ready. So, we end up, nothing happened between she and I. The thing that happened is never what's supposed to happen. That old love, lust, sex thing surfaced in me. I knew what it was. I always thought I just had the wrong woman. And I couldn't get rid of it, and I told my sponsor over and over and over and over again, could not get rid of it, so I finally told the group. And one of the girls in the group said, you're not supposed to tell that in the group. So I went over and told another group. And one of them snitched on me. You know, we don't gossip here, we're just concerned. My sponsor says, listen, we're so sick and tired of hearing you about that thing you've got. Said, usually, when you stop acting on something, God transforms your mind and removes it. But that's not happening with you. We don't know why it's not happening with you. Oh, what's the name's going back to Valley again? You go there and lock yourself in that apartment. Don't you call me. We're so sick and tired of hearing from you. Don't call anybody. See, they can never make up their mind. One time it's call them day or night. Now it's don't call them at all. You and God evidently are going to have to handle that all by yourself. So I go over there and lock myself in that apartment, and I cried and prayed all day long. And then about 11, 12 o'clock at night I went to sleep, and the next day that thing was gone. God, first time in my life, been free of that. Well, I thought, hell, I don't think I'll even tell them this. So damn smart. So after the fourth meeting, we were eating ice cream, and I said, oh, I guess I might as well tell y'all. They said, oh, we knew it the first night. I said, why didn't you tell me? Well, you need to know that you're going to always be the last to know. I said, why is that? He said, we don't know. Oh, what's her name? And I had nothing, so we got a divorce. You know how to get sick, don't you? Make something out of nothing. Then I married me a civilian, religious, southern, singing the choir, Sunday school teaching, son Baptist preacher. Well, that's got to work, hasn't it? Didn't. We were in love, I'm sure, for a minute, and then I end up in a marriage that I thought should not be. I told my aunt, my Sunday school Baptist aunt, said, this girl is too young for me. And he said, yes, and so is most other girls. At your age, most all of them are too young for you. She said, after all, she's the one that's giving it up, not you. We had become friends. She and I had made a decision we were never going to marry again. She wasn't, and I wasn't either. She was Al-Anon liked it, and I was A.A.N. liked it. We was through. She's a Yankee, which is one of the worst kinds. They're raised on the other side of the river, you know. My grandmother said, be careful when you cross the river up there. That it's a bad country. And she's Irish Catholic. God, her name was Fogarty, for God's sakes. Well, you know Baptist and Catholic cannot make it. I know, because my grandmother said it couldn't. And she knows. So, what's so disappointing? We've had the best 4 or 5 years we ever had in our life. I just can't understand how I could have been wrong about that. I just knew I was right. And it's getting a little disgusting. We were driving by yesterday afternoon. He says, you need anything? And I said, no. You need anything? No. Want anything? No. You want anything? No. Guess I got everything I want and everything I need. Isn't that a ridiculous place to be, for God's sakes? Only thing I'm trying to do is not screw it up. I got 2 or 3 guys checking me every day to see if I'm trying to screw it up, to keep me from it. And God, I have enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to enjoying as much of it as I can. May even lose a little weight to try to last a little longer. Wouldn't you hate to have missed it? What if we'd have missed it? Oh, we could have missed it. A lot of them are going to miss us, baby. And a lot of them are going to get here going to miss it. I don't know how much is here. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to surrender to. But God, we've got it. We have got it. We've got what people spend millions to get. We've got people trying to get what we've got, and they can't get it. How in the hell are they going to get what we've got when they can't go do what we did? The only way you can get what we've got is do what we did. Can you go tell them to go out and get drunk, raise hell, and do everything else, and have car wrecks, and scare people to death, and make them get in jail, do everything, and then get into AA and you got it? Look who did it. Look who did it for us. Now, my second wife, she got into speaking in tongues, and they tried it with me up there with Oral, but I told them, I said, listen, I haven't spoken tongues since I quit drinking. But Swaggart did it for us. You know, he used to make fun of us. He did it for us. In fact, if I'd have known he's having trouble like that, we could have taken my car. You can't take a $100,000 Lincoln down there, for God's sake. Need a car like mine. It's got a few dented fenders and stuff, and hell, they don't pay attention to me at all. I could even help him do it. I'd use my name at the motel. He'd have been clean. Then I'd tell him what God will forgive him. Look what he did. There's a guy that God took, gave him all the anointing by the Holy Spirit, gave it to him. Gave and revealed him all the meanings of the Bible. God was a great Bible teacher. Could lay the hands on people and a lot of them were healed. God through him. Great people that could inspire people and do things. What happened? He and God couldn't get rid of that sex deal. Why couldn't he? He's as close as anybody going to be. He didn't have what we had. He preached it. Repent, he said. But he didn't do it. See, what you and I do, he admitted to he and God all the time and could not get rid of it. what you and I do. Admitted to God, myself, and what? Another human being. Got it, haven't we? We can't even go give it to him. Isn't that amazing? What we've got. You know, without a shadow of a doubt, I know a few things, not a lot, but I know of you because God reveals to us himself. God revealed to us. See, you and I, without a shadow of a doubt, have to be. Everybody in this building right now has to be. Whether they want to find it out or not, it's up to them. Has to be God's special chosen child. Has to be. Because you and I did everything we could to destroy ourselves or anybody that would go with us. Couldn't do it, could we? Wasn't going to do it. Almighty God was not going to happen. How much time I got? Am I out? Almighty God took us. And what did he promise? What did he promise you? He said, I'll prepare a place for you. Did he? You betcha. Where is it? Right here. Did you know who's going to be here? No, you didn't know. Did you know this waiting on me? I didn't know it either. If I'd known it, I'd come earlier. Isn't that amazing? There I am. And what do you think I did out there? I went out there and I did everything I could to become sufficient. God's children must become, after giving everything they've got, insufficient. There's no way to know God until you become nothing. And you become helpless. And you and I did it. You and I did everything that Almighty God wanted us to do. We were perfect. And we were thorough. And we did everything exactly like He wanted us to do. Isn't that something else? Almighty God did that. Just for us. Without a shadow of a doubt. All this time. He had you and I in the palm of His hand. Just waiting for us to get prepared to come in and become exactly what He created you and I to be. And He did that. And once you and I got together, then that one power that changes everything and wins over everything can become active in our lives. And that one power can transform us into exactly what God Himself created us to be. And it never fails. That power never fails us. No matter where we go to what we do, the more I'm in that power. I've enjoyed being, you know who's my parent? The one we talk to every night. The one you and I say, when we're going to pray tonight, we're going to say, Our Father. God has been with me as my Father, and I can talk to Him like I've never been able to talk to a human being before. And I talk to Him as if He was here and with my Father, and is my Father. He's the only parent you and I ever need or ever should have. The other parents just got you here. And see, I know that today. How do I know that? Because God reveals that to us. He reveals this to us. And as long as we continue to do what it says here, we are seeking Him, the rest of our life is going to work out. And that's all we are to do. And by so doing, we have lived to the place to get us in here, then God's going to take our lives and give all of it to us. We're never going to understand it because it's a mystery. God's way is a mystery. It's not the human way. That's the reason human professionals can't help us. Because we have one teacher and one director and one guy who runs my show and yours. And that's Almighty God Himself. And He uses that power that comes alive in us more and more all the time. I could have gone to 10 different denominations and 1,000 different churches, but my life was never going to be any different until God sent me to be with you, just as He sent you to be with me. And that power is alive in my life today, just like it is yours, and never fails us. When you call me and I call you, or when you and I meet together, just like it is right now, when I can feel you loving me and me loving you. Thank you very much.